Chapter 731, Being Stared at. Chen Xiaowan was very busy recently, staying up late all night and terribly fatigued. She could finally relax after having finished an unprecedented large project. Despite being young and energetic, she still rested in her place for 2+ days before she recovered. She only had a few friends in Shanghai, while the colleagues she had something in common with were even rarer. She still had 3 or 4 days left on holiday after recovering, and while today was Sunday, she eagerly rushed to Blue Star Villa to look for Tang Xiu to stroll around. "Do you have free time today, sis?" Tang Xiu asked as he walked down the stairs to the living room. Chen Xiaowan got up and smilingly said, "Got nothing to do today, so I came here to find you. Anyways, are you free today? Care to accompany me shopping?" Tang Xiu recalled his activities and found that he had nothing to do today, so he readily agreed. He had a special affection for Chen Xiaowan as a younger brother, a feeling he cherished very much. After having breakfast, the two of them then headed to the garage, picked up the cheapest car inside, and then drove to the bustling block of Shanghai. Strolling down the streets, shopping, tasting foods, and even visiting the cinema in the afternoon until the evening, the duo then casually looked for a restaurant. "You have a problem with your legs, sis?" After ordering the dishes and handing the menu back to the waiter, Tang Xiu looked at Chen Xiaowan, who looked a bit weary. Chen Xiaoyu blanked for a moment, and a bit dispirited look flashed on her face before she let out a thick smile and said, "It's nothing. Maybe I'm just a bit tired after strolling all day long." "That is not a state caused by tiredness, sis." Tang Xiu shook his head. "There's no need to hide anything between us, sis. Tell me, what exactly happened?" Hesitating, Chen Xiaowan forced a smile and said, "Did you mean my left leg? Actually, I was seeing a client last week, but then it turned out that the man was a pervert and wanted to molest me, and then threw an ashtray at me. It hurt just a bit at the beginning, but it lasted for a week and doesn't hurt too much if I don't walk around for long." "A client?" Tang Xiu frowned and asked, "Who is this client?" "He's just an ordinary client whose business was already in the yellow." Chen Xiaowan waved her hand. "Anyways, I don't want to talk about that man again. Anyways, brother, there's something bugging me, can I ask you something?" Tang Xiu observed her, and seeing that she did not want to talk about it, he did not have a choice but to suppress his doubt and say, "All right, I'll answer you frankly. Ask anything you want." "I really can't figure out how my company's big boss turned out to be your subordinate, brother?" asked Chen Xiaowan. "Moreover, the respect she shows you is beyond that of the respect of a subordinate to her superior. Did you feed her some kind of bewitching potion? How come she is like someone whose secret is grasped by you?" Tang Xiu could not help laughing and said, "Your younger brother has a charming personality, so of course my subordinate will naturally obey me. Besides, Kawako is benefiting from me, so of course, she will value my words very much." How should I say it? Your younger brother is kind of a nouveau riche billionaire now." Chen Xiaowan could not help laughing. She charmingly rolled her eyes at Tang Xiu. Suddenly, a light flashed in her eyes as she asked with a bit of expectation, "How about you accompany me to a certain place tonight?" "Where?" Tang Xiu immediately asked. He did not expect her to suddenly ask him on a whim and even seemed to look forward to it. "Well, there's a gathering for my university graduates, my fellow students. I originally did not intend to attend it, but with you to accompany me I suddenly want to go." "How can I go?" "It's the gathering of your university's graduates." Tang Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh, and then continued, "I don't even know anyone among them." Chen Xiaowan thought that Tang Xiu was correct. Her expression turned dark and said helplessly, "Then I won't go since you don't want to." "Anyways, what are we gonna do after dinner?" "I'll take you to a good place," said Tang Xiu with a smile. You can enjoy the leisure and entertainment there by yourself if you have some free time later. What is the place? The Paradise Manor. 2 hours later, Tang Xiu arrived at the Paradise Manor with Chen Xiaowan. After passing through the entrance, however, Chen Xiaowan's face turned strange. And after they came to the parking lot inside, she could not bear to pull Tang Xiu's sleeve and say in a toned-down voice, "Brother, we already came to this place, are you going to gather with that group of my fellow students over there?" Fellow students? Tang Xiu was stunned and asked with a surprised expression, "Eh? Your fellow students' gathering is being held here?"
Yeah.
Chen Xiaowan nodded. Some of my fellow students are local nouveau riches here and mixed quite well after graduation. They are also the ones who arranged this college class reunion. All right, then. Just tell me the specific place. Tang Xiu nodded after giving it a thought. Wait there and I'll see you later. I'm going to see the owner of this place to get 2 bottles of good wine. Do you know the owner of this place? Chen Xiaowan was surprised.
Yeah.
We are very close. Tang Xiu suppressed his laughter. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu appeared in Lulu's office but saw her unexpectedly dressed up today. It was a contrast with her past style since the dress she wore today was a whole set of professional white collar, with eyeglasses and bleached blonde hair, as she sat on the boss chair while reading a book. Looking at you in this style is quite interesting. Tang Xiu faintly smiled as he came before her. As his vision casually swept over the book in her hands, his expression suddenly froze. Chibi. Chibi Morocco-chan manga? Lulu put the book down and happily walked out of her desk, cheerfully turned around in front of Tang Xiu, and then spread her hands and said with a playful smile, "So, how do I look?" "Good, right?" "Not bad." Tang Xiu forced a smile. "But what you're reading and your attire is kinda not suited." "Forget it, let's not talk about this. Anyways, Sis Xiaowan is with me here, and it just so happens that her fellow students from college are having a reunion here. So, I want to take 2 bottles of good wine to gather with them. Do you still have some God's nectar here?" When Lulu heard Tang Xiu's question, her expression turned a bit scornful and resentfully said, "I still have some. But that surnamed Kong is too stingy, you know. I have less than 100 boxes of God's nectar in inventory, and my staff grumbled to me a couple of days ago that the rest of the God's nectar will be completely sold out in a few days." Tang Xiu rolled his eyes at her. 100 boxes are few. He was the one who set the rule in the first place. Let alone 100 boxes. Nobody was able to buy 8 or 10 boxes if they did not buy them via the Magnificent Tang Corporation's exclusive stores in the major cities. All right. You don't know how lucky you are. Besides, the Magnificent Tang Corporation has its own rules and regulations, they won't open the back door for you. But for you, they have given you an exception. Kang Xia will come to Shanghai a couple of days later. Just keep pestering her that you want more God's nectar. Whether you can get it from her, it will depend on your skills. Got no problem with that. Ouyang Lulu immediately nodded. On the roof of the 3-story foreign-style building of the Paradise Manor, Ladyboy Wutong held a binoculars and watched the situation in a distant building. He could clearly see Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu through the window of that building. Who exactly is this guy? His relationship with Ice Phoenix Han Qingwu is very close, yet his relationship with other women keeps popping up. Is he not afraid Ice Phoenix will get jealous and hack him alive? Wu Tong had been secretly following Han Qingwu for several days. He could tell that Han Qingwu was like a young girl in love. Through his observation, he could see that the guy Han Qingwu liked was Tang Xiu, a student of Shanghai University, a guy with quite unusual behavior. His luck in love is really great. Wu Tong let out an uncanny smirk but did not feel the slightest envy at all. He only liked men, and that was particularly so towards Tang Xiu. He even imagined whether he could have some good and pleasant times with Tang Xiu. Who is it? Suddenly, this Shimao's complexion drastically changed, instantly turned around and grabbed his dagger. He then saw a middle-aged man with cold eyes and folded arms staring at him about 7+ meters away. You should already know who I am, said Mo Al lightly. Wu Tong squinted, but a tempestuous shock hit his heart. He knew his own strength perfectly and how vigilant he always was. Yet, this man was able to approach him 7+ meters away without him being able to sense. It only meant that this man had very terrifying abilities. It's you. His bodyguard? Wu Tong extended his hand to point to the distant windows. Now that you already know, you should understand that you've already been exposed, no? Said Mo Ao indifferently. Now tell me, why are you tracking my boss? Humph, Wu Tong snorted. I do as I please. Do I need you to mind my business? With that said, he immediately turned around and instantly jumped from the roof. It was a 3-story building, yet he could easily jump down. While standing there, he looked up to see Mo Ao and gave him the middle finger. Afterward, he turned around and left. With us here, do you think you can come and go as you please? A figure blocked Wu Tong's path as the sharp dagger in his hand fluttered away like a butterfly. Wu Tong furrowed his brows and vigilantly stared at the man in front of him. He did not want to engage in a fight, so he turned around and dashed forward, attempting to leave the place for the time being. However, just as he ran about a dozen steps, another burly figure blocked his path again. Shit! Wu Tong angrily cursed. But he did not try to run and avoid the fight this time and rushed straight towards the burly man, sending a barrage of punches to his chest lightning fast. Bam! Wu Tong only saw a shadow flash near him and felt nothing but the blooming flower in front of him. His fist did not hit the man's chest, but it was his lower abdomen that seemed to be hit by a huge force. He felt like his intestines were tied up by the pain at this moment. The most unbelievable thing was that he saw himself flying upside down to the back as the scenery from his sides brushed forward. Cough, cough. After heavily slamming on the cold concrete floor 7+ meters away, Wu Tong, who had withstood all kinds of sufferings for countless times, suppressed the pain coming from his abdomen and propped himself up with his hands on the ground and stood up again in the blink of an eye. Chapter 732, Contrary to Expectation. The Shimao, Wu Tong, was a cruel and ruthless character, having committed many killings and climbed out of the pile of dead bodies countless times, and there was never an occasion that made him desperate. He used to believe that the heavens would never seal off all the ways out, for there would always be a chance to preserve his life as long as he sacrificed everything to fight for it. At this moment, however, he was despairing. He could tell the graveness of the situation as he seemed to have trespassed the dangerous dragon's pond and tiger's den, courting trouble on someone he could not afford to. Just the appearance of the 2 men in front of him and the other one on the roof gave him the tingling sensation that he was trapped in the camp of a mighty army. What was unfathomable to him was that the seemingly ordinary man turned out to have a dreadful power. Speed and strength were originally his forte, but the blitzkrieg, thunderblast-like actions of these people made it difficult for him to breathe. Are all of you Tang Xiu's men? Wu Tong wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth and stared at the 2 men around with vigilance, and asked with a sharp tone. However, just as his voice faded away, his pupils suddenly shrank when he saw Mo Ao floating down from the roof. That's right, he was floating, defying the physics and going against scientific reasons. It was like gravitation had no effect on him as his feet trod on the ground as though he was walking on cotton. Mo Ao's cold eyes gazed at him as he indifferently spoke, "Give up and be obedient if you don't want to suffer more pain. Follow me." Where to? Wu Tong clenched his fist. To see our boss, said Mo Ao. Wu Tong quickly grabbed 3 darts from his waist and coldly said, "Do you really have the confidence to make me stay here? I'm sure I can bury you with me if I fight with all I have." Mo looked at him with contempt and lightly said, "You don't want to cooperate? Let's do it in a rough way, then. Stun him down. I'll go to see the boss first." With that said, he left under Wu Tong's glaring gaze. Whoosh. Whoosh. The two figures instantly flashed toward Wu Tong. Their speed was extremely fast and even faintly reached the limit the naked eyes could see. Amidst the flashing afterimages, Wu Tong clenched his teeth and threw the darts in his hand. Dart throwing was a unique skill he was very confident about, as he never missed to kill the target within a 10 meters range. Schwaff. 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 The darts pierced the afterimages as the two auras of Jurassic beasts shrouded him, followed by the terrifying speed and strength that were vividly displayed by the punches of these two men. Wu Tong felt like he had become a human sandbag without the slightest strength to fight back. He could only feel the constant heavy blows hitting him, causing his injuries to become more severe. He was in complete despair and wanted to yield, but the man's fist hammered his mouth and he could not spit out another word. After 10 seconds of staying firm and strong, he lost consciousness in despair and fear, as heavy punches knocked him down. Inside the general manager office of the Paradise Manor, Tang Xiu sipped hot tea while embracing Lulu's tender body. He had released his spiritual sense to observe the scenes outside, watching as ladyboy Wu Tong got beaten. Inwardly, he was rather surprised. Why would the runner-up of the underground fighting secretly track him? "There's a situation here, boss." Mo's voice came outside the door. Tang Xiu patted Lulu's thigh and said, "Bring him to me. He has been following me for quite long. I'll talk to him." "Understood," replied Mo, and then there was no other sound anymore. Tang Xiu then found that Ouyang Lulu did not get up, and instead held his arm that coiled around her neck. With the special fragrance of a woman, yet nestled herself in his arm like a lazy kitten, made Tang Xiu be at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh, and said, "Lulu, get up. I got a deal with an important matter." "They are not here yet," Lulu coquettishly said. "Nesting in your arm is very cozy, you know. I really don't want to move. Honey, tell me. If we become fossils like this and maintain such a posture until the oceans dry up and the rocks decay, it would be very great, right?" Tang Xiu faintly smiled and replied, "Assuming our feelings grow for a long time, they will last for all eternity." Ouyang Lulu was stunned and immediately kissed Tang Xiu's face and sweetly smiled. "I never thought such a sentence would jump out of you." "All right. I'll sit at the side to watch." After a while, Mo came to the office with the fainted ladyboy Wu Tong. Under Tang Xiu's order, he woke up Wu Tong and then immediately walked to the side. "Where's this?" After Wu Tong regained consciousness, he quickly observed his surroundings and instantly determined that this place was where Tang Xiu and his woman were staying in. Tang Xiu took out a cigarette as Ouyang Lulu swiftly grabbed a lighter and lit it for him. After taking 2 puffs, only then did Tang Xiu set his eyes on the badly battered and a swollen-faced Wu Tong who still looked very vigilant, and said, "The runner-up of the underground fighting competition, ladyboy Wu Tong. I'm quite curious here, what made you come here all of a sudden, more so that you've been stalking and monitoring me?" Wu Tong shot a deep gaze at Tang Xiu. He had seen countless big bosses with amazing wealth, deep and strong backgrounds, and a lot of experts under their employment. But none of them could make him dread them. However much he tried to observe Tang Xiu, he could not find anything special about this guy at all. "If I were to tell you that it was just out of curiosity, would you believe it?" Wu Tong was silent for a while before asking. "I don't buy it." Tang Xiu shook his head. "You're in a bad state and situation, while loads of those rich men in China are probably looking for you as of now." Wu contemptuously spoke. "What skills do they have? They are simply dreaming of they want to find me. Self-confidence is not equal to being conceited, mind you." "It seems that you have quite the energy and confidence," said Tang Xiu. So, did you notice me because of Han Qingwu? That's right. Wu Tong nodded. Ice Phoenix is very formidable and her strength and combat strength are beyond the limits of human cognition. I quietly followed her leaving with you after the underground fighting competition a couple of days ago. But then I had to stay low and avoid the harassments of some suicidal clowns for some time. Afterward, I came to Shanghai and found that you have a deep relationship with Ice Phoenix. But she just went back to her routine, going to work and home, so I just planned to observe you. Never did I think that, you're actually not an ordinary person. When did you start stalking me? Asked Tang Xiu. This afternoon, answered Wu Tong. This noon? Tang Xiu's brows were slightly pressed and a light flashed in his eyes. He first noticed Wu Tong stalking him after finishing lunch and on his way to the Paradise Manor. Little did he expect that this guy had been keeping an eye on him from noon. Apparently, this man was very skillful in tracking and concealment. Tang Xiu then asked, so, what is your purpose in tracking Han Qingwu and me? I just wondered whether you know things about Han Qingwu, and where her master is, said Wu Tong with a serious expression. She's very young, so her master must be very formidable. I want to become stronger, thus I want to become his disciple. To be stronger, he wants to become a disciple? His answer was an unexpected surprise to Tang Xiu. After carefully scrutinizing him, he shook his head and said with a smile, what she learned is not something you can learn. Your body has been damaged. It can be said that you have a mild deformity. Hence, I'm afraid you can only stop here on your martial path if there is no huge fortuitous encounter. You are saying. Wu Tong looked down and then quickly looked up and stared at Tang Xiu. That's right. Tang Xiu nodded and explained, your yang qi has been leaking out, while the pseudo-yin qi incessantly impairs your body by consuming the system of your vital essence, qi, and spirit, and thus greatly lessening your lifespan. You should be less than 40 years old at present, meaning you have passed your prime. I'm not afraid to leak out the heavenly secret if I must, but you have only a decade or two to live. It's best for you to take care of yourself well. 1 or 2 decades. To live less than 60 years old? Wu Tong's heart shivered as he glared at Tang Xiu and said, you just want to freak me out. If you think I'm just scaring you, I can't do anything about it. Off you go then. Just think about it when you've calmed down, whether there's something getting worse and worse in your body in recent years. Your condition can never be compared with the previous state in your prime regardless of how hard you try. After you've thought it through later, just find a comfortable place to enjoy your old age and wait for death to come. A shiver came over Wu Tong's heart. He did not have to calm his mind to realize that Tang Xiu was correct. The state of his body was getting worse in recent years, and even the strength he could unleash at present was much worse than the power he erupted with when was on the deathline several years ago. To keep drifting along abroad for more than 20 years otherwise became unlikely, and he eventually returned to China, so much so that it was unlikely for him to even take part in the underground fighting competition. He wanted to return to the peak and wished to fight other martial arts experts to sharpen himself. The result was that his recovery rate was getting slower and slower, and the power he could unleash was getting worse. How did you learn about it? Wu Tong constantly changed his expression and finally asked.
I
forgot to introduce myself. Tang Xiu smiled. Maybe you only know that my name is Tang Xiu, but you don't know one of my identities. I'm a Chinese medical practitioner, and I'm also hailed as the young divine doctor. A miracle-working doctor? Wu Tong's body trembled as he incredulously looked at Tang Xiu and exclaimed, how is this possible? I know a bit about the situation of the Chinese medical field in China. How could one become a divine doctor in his 20s? Even Hua Tuo and Bian Ke were not able to achieve such a feat. You should have heard the sentence that the universe has no limit and knowledge is infinite. While there are always people better and stronger than you, however strong you are, said Tang Xiu with confidence. Something that others can't do doesn't mean it applies to me. Wu Tong only stared at Tang Xiu for a long time, before he knelt down in front of him under the watchful gazes of Mo and Ouyang Lulu. With a pleading and begging expression, he said, "Divine Doctor, please save me." He bought it? Tang Xiu wore a strange expression when he looked at Wu Tong and was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh inside. Though he was indeed very confident in his ability to treat illnesses, yet it was not something worthy enough for Wu Tong to act like this, no? Tang Xiu lowered his hand as a stream of qi wrapped Wu Tong and instantly pulled him up. After that, he said, "I can't help you, so off you go. But if you can find some medicinal herbs that could treat your yin deficiency, reinforcing body fluids, nourishing the blood and your kidney, your body can be nursed back to health and warmed up, and thus can increase your lifespan. Be it so, with learning this martial art." Chapter 733, Frantic Bee and Lascivious Butterfly. Tang Xiu was not the kind to who return evil with good, more so that he was disinclined to heal such trash who had schemed against him. He motioned Mo, who then took Wu Tong away from the office. "Honey, did you accompany Han Qingwu to watch that underground fighting match?" Ouyang Lulu asked with a smile after she shifted her gaze the moment the door was shut.
Yeah.
"I went with her." Tang Xiu nodded. She was a participant in this year's domestic underground fighting competition and went through the finals. "I went with her so as to avoid any accidents happening to her. Fortunately, not only was she safe and sound, but she also got the first place." "Ah, that's right. That shemale a moment ago was the runner-up." After hearing this, Ouyang Lulu looked a bit dissatisfied and commented even though she was shocked inwardly, "You did not take me to see such a thrilling event. You know, I once watched this kind of underground fighting match in the past. It was very thrilling." There was a strange mood surging up inside Tang Xiu's heart. He thought that she would be jealous that he accompanied Han Qingwu to participate in the underground fighting match. He was under the imagination that she would see him favor one of his women. But apparently, she clearly did not have that idea but rather blamed him for not taking her as well. After letting out a hollow chuckle, he reached out to pull Ouyang Lulu to his arm and kiss her, promising, "I'll definitely take you if there are other thrilling events in the future." "That's better." Ouyang Lulu nodded and smilingly asked, "Anyways, when are we going to see Sis Xiaowan?" "We?" Tang Xiu could not help laughing and said, "You're the big boss of this Paradise Manor, why do you want to stop by, anyway? Are you not afraid you will make those Sis Xiaowan's fellow students feel uncomfortable?" "I don't care however uneasy they are and what they do. It's fine as long as Sis Xiaowan is satisfied and pleased. Come on now, hurry up," said Ouyang Lulu with a smile. With that said, she called the manager and ordered him to take 2 bottles of God's nectar and wait on the first floor, and then dragged Tang Xiu out of the office. When they came to the first floor and got the God's nectar, Ouyang Lulu cheerfully pulled Tang Xiu to the catering section. The catering section was the fragrance hall. Chen Xiaowan was a different person than in the past, with leaps and bounds of progress in status and position successively. She was now the vice president of the Brisk Trading Group, and this was no secret among her classmates. Therefore, her more than 20 classmates gave her a warm greeting which made her feel overwhelmed by the unexpected flattery. As a matter of fact, she also attended several reunions with her fellow students in the university before, but their reaction was very weak and only several of them willing to get along and talk with her. Each time after the reunion ended, each and every one of them only had some chit-chat via or WeChat in the next few days, and rarely had other contacts. Wei Guotao was someone who pursued Chen Xiaowan for a long time and the one who failed to get the title of Mr. Perfect, and the campus beau. He came from a well-off family and was a bit arrogant in nature, arrogance that Chen Xiaowan had been disgusted with at the time. At present, Wei Guotao had become the owner of a textile mill and was considered as a scion who took on the mantle of his father in the industry, and one who grew up with a golden spoon with a cozy, extravagant life as a second-generation nouveau riche. After going through struggles and challenging experiences in society, however, he turned a lot mature, and the grinding of society and the world had grounded and smoothed his haughtiness. Back then, his failure in pursuing Chen Xiaowan left a knot inside his heart. Later on, he thought to continue pursuing her but then learned that she already had a boyfriend and thus gave up the idea. More so that he now had the status and wealth, so he would not lack women at all. However, seeing and meeting Chen Xiaowan again resurrected the regret inside him. As he saw her looking more mature and more beautiful than before, he could not calm down the surging tide inside his heart despite having indulged himself in joy, and abandoning himself in pleasures in recent years. Beauty Chen, you have to be punished by drinking 3 cups of wine for coming late. You can't be exempted from the punishment even if you have become the vice president of a big company. Wu Xiaoping, most called Little Fatty Wu, attentively pulled the next chair for Chen Xiaowan and cheerfully said, I'm not a man like you who can withstand spirits, and I'll probably faint on Ji Jia's arm if I drink 3 glasses of wine, said Chen Xiaowan with a smile. The one sitting next to her, Ji Jia, got up and hugged her. After pulling Chen Xiaowan down, she laughed and said, Wow, getting drunk and faint in my arms, eh? This young lady will definitely take good care of you. Go. Go. Just go. Chen Xiaowan said with a smile. Wei Guotao was the leader of this gathering party, and he said with a smile, Xiaowan, even if you have to be punished yourself with 3 cups of wine, you still have to sing a song when we go to the entertainment section later. If my memory serves me right, your wonderful voice once attracted many frantic bees and lascivious butterflies back when we were still in uni. Wu Xiaoping let out a strange smile and smirked. Wei Guotao, weren't you also a frantic bee that time? Or were you a butterfly? Wei Guotao's breath stagnated and immediately cursed, Bah, go to hell, fatty. You're really damned. You just touched a sore spot of mine. Do you not believe you will be the first to get drunk? Who's afraid of who, huh? Wu Xiaoping raised his head. I don't give a damn whether having 2 or 3 bottles is too few, or 8 to 10 bottles are too much. I will accompany you drinking till the end. That is if you dare. Besides, it's a rare occasion to have the chance to show off like a real man before Beauty Chen. So it's absolutely impossible to be terrified at this time, no? Holy shit. Shame on you, fatty. Wei Guotao mocked him. The happy atmosphere was much better than in the old times, and Chen Xiaowan did not expect that everyone was not secretly comparing their achievements or showing off in this year's class reunion. Maybe as years go by and everyone turned older, they became a lot more mature. Bam. The door to the fragrance hall was pushed hard as a well-dressed tall man came in from. Yet, his originally handsome face was ruined by the panda eye mark on his left eye. Huh? What happened to you, Lu Bo? Everyone inside the fragrance hall looked confused, while Wei Guotao hurriedly approached and asked. Lu Bo excused himself to the restroom and he was still fine about 7+ minutes ago. Why did he look like this when he came back? Lu Bo's expression was a bit gloomy, but he squeezed out a smile in the face of everyone's attention and said, I just met 2 bastards who drank too much, bumped into me and cursed at me. I hit them first so I didn't suffer many losses. Everyone exchanged dismayed looks as they did not expect Lu Bo to be so unlucky to bump into drunken guests, and even have a fight with them. Are you all right? Do you want us to escort you to the hospital to get some treatment? Wei Guotao asked. No need. Lu Bo shook his head. Do you know their backgrounds? Asked Wei Guotao. Wanna find them and settle the accounts? No. No need, said Lu Bo quickly. I have already cleaned them up, and I'm sure their companions have sent them to the hospital already. All right, it's not easy for everyone to gather together, so don't let this minor issue sweep away our good time, all right? Come, everyone. Let's have a toast. Wei Guotao slightly furrowed his brows, because he could see a faint panicked expression in Lu Bo's eyes. He secretly raised his vigilance. He knew Lu Bo perfectly well. He was a mature and steady guy who did not particularly give any mind about face and reputation. His only shortcoming was that he was just a bit timid. Could it be that problems are coming up? Wei Guotao thought about it for a moment and then immediately glanced at Chen Xiaowan, who followed with the wine glass in her hand. Seeing her again breathed life in his heart again. He knew that she had broken up with her boyfriend and he was also still single. He might have ambiguous relationships with many women, but those women were just after his money and he had no feelings for them whatsoever. He was very much willing to leave those women to be with Chen Xiaowan, marrying her, having children, and living a tranquil and steady life. After gulping down a glass of wine, Wei Guotao pondered for a while before he got up and went towards Chen Xiaowan, as he bent down and whispered, "Chen Xiaowan, let's go out." Chen Xiaowan gawked and then glanced to Wu Xiaoping and Ji Jia at her sides, and saw them teasingly winking at her. She immediately rolled her eyes at them and then followed Wei Guotao out of Fragrance Hall. Something happened. As they came to the corridor outside, Chen Xiaowan looked at the other side of the corridor where 7 or 8 were coming toward them in a very threatening attitude, making her slightly furrow her brows. Wei Guotao also saw this group of people and realized in a flash that they should be coming for Lu Bo since the two in the lead were limping, and had swollen noses and faces. They had obviously been beaten by someone. "Xiaowan, this is my car key. My car is parked in the parking lot outside, help me get the 2 bottles of wine from the trunk." Wei Guotao took out a car key and stuffed it into Chen Xiaowan's hand. Huh? Chen Xiaowan was at a loss at what to do. Little did she expect that Wei Guotao would call her out just for this matter. At first, she had a good impression on him since he had good looks, and though this guy's haughtiness was widely known in the past, he never did anything too outrageous. He also never pretended to look great in front of his classmates, nor did he show off his achievements. But at this time, a burst of disgust bred inside her heart. Why? Why does he want me to get something for him? Is it because he is some small boss, while I'm just an employee? Chen Xiaowan's expression was a bit unsightly, yet she still took the car key. She seldom turned down others, but she also made up her mind to make an excuse to leave after taking these 2 bottles of wine. Astute as he was, Wei Guotao could tell that Chen Xiaowan misunderstood him from the sudden change of her expression. But now was not the time to explain everything to her, so he just watched Chen Xiaowan's back as she left. After that, he immediately dashed back to the fragrance hall, closed door from the inside and then shouted, "Everyone, be quiet. We got a sudden situation here, so get prepared quickly. Lu Bo, I'm afraid those 2 guys you fought with before are now bringing some people over here." What? Lu Bo's face turned very nasty. The more than 20 of their classmates in the hall also had a change in expression. They had been living in a society governed by laws and rarely encountered violent incidents. They were afraid to get involved and implicated if a fight were to break out. Wei Guotao quickly glanced at everyone around and secretly sighed. He had gone through many things and encountered many violent incidents in the past. He was once stared at and hunted at nightclubs and got badly beaten by some people. But it was because of that experience that he had a stable and calm mind at this moment. He then rushed to the corner and used the intercom to ask the waiter to notify the security guards. Chapter 734, Being Frightened Out of Their Wits. Knock, knock. The fragrance hall's door was knocked, then Tang Xiu entered with Ouyang Lulu. Just as they stepped inside and saw more than 20 young men and women all standing up and glaring at them with hostile faces. What happened? Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu exchanged looks and were baffled by the reaction from everyone in the hall. Upon seeing them, the people in the hall blanked for a moment, as Wei Guotao was a bit stunned when he saw Ouyang Lulu. His vision then fell on Tang Xiu and asked, "Who are you?" Tang Xiu looked at everyone inside but could not find Chen Xiaowan at all. He was immediately confused and said, "Could it be that we came to the wrong hall?" Sis Xiaowan clearly said her class reunion was being held in the fragrance hall, right? Where is she? Are you looking for Chen Xiaowan? Asked Wei Guotao, surprised.
Yeah.
I'm her younger brother. Tang Xiu nodded. I heard that you are all here for a class reunion, so I came with 2 bottles of wine. It was now everyone's turn in the room to become baffled, exchanging dismayed looks. They thought that they were people who came to retaliate Lu Bo, thus they didn't expect that he turned out to be Chen Xiaowan's younger brother. Wei Guotao himself had 99% assurance that it was true, so he immediately spoke, young brother, Chen Xiaowan is currently out doing something and will come back later. How about you leave first and wait for her to come back? I'll contact you again later. Asking guests to leave. As if realizing something, Tang Xiu turned his head and looked at the 7 or 8 men who had already walked inside, while the 2 in front were letting out curses. He then saw the people in the hall turn vigilant and suddenly could not help laughing. Do you guys have a conflict with them? Wei Guotao, Lu Bo, and the others did not reply, but some of the more courageous men among them stepped forward to guard the 6 or 7 females behind them. Wow, so many people here, eh? The swollen-faced Bai Xing entered the room unsteadily and then looked around. As he found Lu Bo among them, he immediately shouted angrily, "It's that fucking bastard. I luckily followed you in secret before, so I knew you were in this hall, else you would have run away by now. The ones who dared to beat this big daddy are not born yet, but you just jumped out of your mother's womb ahead of time. And today, I'll kick you back to your mother's womb." With that said, Bai Xing wielded the bottle and seemed to be ready to storm Lu Bo. Stop. Tang Xiu furrowed his brows and shouted in a deep voice. At the same time, his feet instantly moved toward Bai Xing. The latter had yet to smash the wine bottle, as he already caught his wrist and said, "This place is the Paradise Manor. You must know the consequences before you want to make a ruckus here. Who the hell are you? It's no damned fucking business with yours whether this big daddy wants to fuck things up here." Bam. A loud, thumping sound was heard as Ouyang Lulu's foot heavily kicked Bai Sheng's chest. Despite being a man, Bai Sheng was not tall and his physique was also rather weak, hence he was sent back for several steps by Ouyang Lulu's kick until he hit the 2 men behind him. You may curse me, but if you dare to curse him again I will snap your damn legs and tie you up at the entrance of my Paradise Manor like a dog. Do you believe me? Shouted Ouyang Lulu angrily. Getting kicked in the chest suffocated Bai Sheng. As he saw Ouyang Lulu's appearance, never did he dream that such a beauty comparable to a celestial maiden was actually the one who kicked him, and was especially threatening him for another man. Bai Shen was about to roar furiously but was pulled by a middle-aged man beside him. The middle-aged man looked at Ouyang Lulu indifferently and said, "Listening to you, are you someone from this Paradise Manor?" "Yes. I'm the owner of this place," answered Ouyang Lulu coldly. "The owner?" The middle-aged man was struck dumb and suddenly realized something as his expression drastically changed, and his attitude reversed 180 degrees. He then nodded and squeezed out an obsequious smile. "It turns out that you're Miss Ouyang. Blame me for failing to recognize Empty Tai when I met you. I heard from a friend of mine the other day that you have a good relationship with Mr. Tang, so I brought these friends from Fukong province to join us. On the account of Mr. Tang's face, why don't you?" Suddenly, his words came to an abrupt halt as it occurred to him that it was Tang Xiu who was accompanied by Ouyang Lulu. His expression froze as he gaped and was unable to voice anything else. Tang Xiu sneered and said, "My face seems quite big, eh? To think that I can even make you bring people here to flatter me. So tell me, who's this holy being friend you mentioned?" The middle-aged man felt like he was falling into an ice cave, for he never imagined that the very person who was just cursed by his companion turned out to be Tang Xiu himself. Though it was his first time meeting Tang Xiu, his name was like a thunderclap piercing his ear. Are you Mr. Tang Xiu?" "I am." Tang Xiu slightly nodded. The middle-aged man squeezed out a smile and said with trembling lips, "My friend's name is Jin Shinkue and he's my client, and his recent project uses stones bought from me. Mr. Tang, my friend just lashed out his tantrum at you, please don't stoop to his level and forgive him with your magnanimity." Tang Xiu looked at him with a strange expression, as he did not expect that this middle-aged man turned out to be Jin Xinkue's business friend. He also had some shares in Jin Xinkue's business, so it could be counted that he also had a business deal with this man. Bai Sheng, who finally gasped for breath, wanted to lash out his anger again. After all, he was kicked under everyone's watchful eyes, more so that the one who did it was such a dazzling belle, something very humiliating to him. But after hearing Tang Xiu being mentioned by his friend, he could not help but tremble, and his frenzied feelings also faded a lot. Are you really Tang Xiu? From the Tang family?" Bai Sheng's attitude had drastically changed as well and asked with a cautious expression. "You know me?" Tang Xiu frowned. Bai Sheng's heart thumped, nearly weeping. He never feared anyone and even practically ignored the elders of his family. But the fear he had toward that truly fierce and ruthless figure was genuine, and this figure was exactly Tang Xiu of the Tang family from Beijing. "Tang. Mr. Tang. I really apologize. I didn't know the owner of this place is close to you. I really have dog eyes. I couldn't recognize you at all just now. My name is Bai Sheng from Fukang Province's Bai family." Tang Xiu's brows raised and asked, "Who is Bai Yang to you?" "He's the Bai family's patriarch." "I should call him uncle according to the seniority," said Bai Sheng. "I know a bit about the Bai family." Tang Xiu nodded. "Whether it is Bai Yang or the rest of the family, they usually act low-key. I never thought this family had someone like you. Scram to Fukang province fast, and you had better not to court calamity for your family when you're outside later." Bai Sheng wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead, as he hurriedly nodded and said, "Yes, yes. I'll definitely redeem myself according to your teaching. If you have no other instructions, then I'll take my leave first. I'll leave early in the morning and return to Fukang province." With that said, all who came with threatening attitudes now quickly left with trepidation, while the more than 20 people in the fragrance hall were dumbfounded with dropping jaws, shocked by the series of events. Tang Xiu then turned around to look at Wei Guotao and the others. A smile climbed up on his face as he said, "I apologize to all of you for having your dinner at our Paradise Manor disturbed. Hence, I'd like to present these 2 bottles of wine for everyone to taste. Also, we still have things to tend to, so we can't accompany you." God's nectar? At least a dozen people among them knew their wine, and also had seen the packaging of this top wine, the God's nectar. Inwardly, they exclaimed in shock as the 2 bottles of wine given by Tang Xiu turned out to be God's nectar. It must be noted that this wine was very expensive and sold at 18,888 yuan in the exclusive stores, but in the private market, many were willing to obtain it for double the price. It was an exquisite wine, yet it was very scarce in circulation. That was the characteristic of the God's nectar. "Mr. Tang, please stay," Wei Guotao quickly called out. "We are really grateful for what just happened. I'm afraid we would be beaten if it wasn't for you." "Never mind it." Tang Xiu smiled. "You chose to dine at Paradise Manor, so it's our responsibility to guarantee your safety." Wei Guotao nodded in response with a smile. There was a hesitating look on his face as he pointed to the 2 bottles of God's nectar on the table and said, "I must decline your kindness with thanks, Mr. Tang. But this wine is way too precious." "No, it's just a liquor and nothing precious." Tang Xiu waved his hand and smilingly said, "But you. Oh. You're here, brother? And you too, Lulu." At the door of the fragrance hall, Chen Xiaowan came inside with empty hands. There was previously a bit of anger on her face, but it then instantly disappeared completely after seeing Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu. Ouyang Lulu quickly greeted her and affectionately grabbed her arms and said, I just learned that you and your classmates are having a reunion here, Sis Xiaowan. Else I would have instructed my staff to prepare the best hall for all of you. Chen Xiaowan looked a bit embarrassed and replied in a low voice, no need to be this polite between us, Lulu. Besides, having to meet and gather here together is already great. Just enjoy yourself here like it's your home, Sis Xiaowan, wherever you feel great. Well, consider this dinner tonight my treat. Just enjoy your dishes and wine and have a good evening. All of your spending tonight is on me, said Ouyang Lulu with a smile. Don't. Nope. It's already decided. Else your brother will scold me to death later. Ouyang Lulu interrupted her and smiled. Tang Xiu could not help laughing and said, Lulu wants to exempt you from spending, sis, so just accept it. Anyways, we won't bother your dinner. Just call me later after you're done and I'll escort you back. After a while, Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu left, leaving only a group of Chen Xiaowan's classmates in the fragrance hall. Just as Chen Xiaowan threw back the car key to Wei Guotao, voices buzzed from her classmates. It was so amazing. Xiaowan's younger brother is simply too powerful.
Yeah.
Amazing. Those guys a while ago seemed to be scared out their wits and nearly wet their pants. That's a real nouveau riche for you. Damn. Tang Xiu is really cool.
Yeah.
He's my idol. If only I had such a younger brother, it'd be so damn great. Chapter 735, Money. Chen Xiaowan, who was watching Wei Guodao's face, gradually became astounded. Her old classmates' comments and envious looks cast a dense fog in her head. What exactly is going on? Chen Xiaowan muttered to herself. Wu Xiaoping rubbed his hands. With a smiling face that was full of flattering, he came to Chen Xiaowan and gave her 180 degrees bow, and then grinned, Wow, Belle Chan, my dearest goddess Xiaowan, do you still need a devoted and faithful slave? If you still need one, please receive me. I'll do the laundry, the cooking, serve tea, anything. Absolute satisfaction guaranteed. Ji Jia slapped his shoulder and forcefully dragged him several meters away. She then came to Chen Xiaowan's front, reorganized her clothes, cleared her throat, and then revealed a similarly flattering smile as she said, Big sis Xiaowan, our relationship should be the best one among our classmates, right? Well, whether you regard me as a very close person like your quilted jacket or your 24/7 attendant, just speak to me immediately if you need anything. I'll always follow you behind in the future. Me too. You still have me. Being able to serve Goddess Chan will definitely be the highest honor of my life. Xiaowan, being a classmate once is the same as becoming relatives for 3 lifetimes. Besides, we were all one whole family 500 years ago, so you gotta let me cling onto your thigh in the future. Oh, a great beauty Chan, do you still wish to receive a boy toy? I'm willing to become the second or third lover under your support. Chen Xiaowan was struck dumb and rendered speechless as she faced the flatter of her old fellow students. Her lips twitched a few times. She could vaguely tell that the actions of these people should be caused by the arrival of Tang Xiu and Ouyang Lulu. As the merriment went by, Chen Xiaowan gradually understood what just happened. At this time, she looked at Wei Guotao with a smiling face. The disgust she had inside not only had disappeared but also replaced by a bit of gratefulness instead. While everyone else was chatting warmly, she secretly used her mobile to send Wei Guotao a text. So, back when you told me to go downstairs, it was intentional, wasn't it? You were afraid that I'd be in danger when our classmates had a fight with those people? After receiving the text, Wei Guotao only replied with one word, yes. Chen Xiaowan thoroughly understood his intention and replied with a thank you. She directly cast away the idea to leave earlier, and while watching her old classmates gulp clean the 2 bottles of God's nectar, her heart was even more touched by what Tang Xiu, her younger brother, did. Paradise Manor, Ouyang Lulu's residence. Tang Xiu sipped fragrant tea while reading the book, looking leisurely content. Ouyang Lulu was not there to accompany him as she went to tend to business matters. Ring, ring, ring. The ringtone of his mobile broke the quiet atmosphere at this time. Tang Xiu picked up his mobile. After finding that it was a call from Gu Xiaoxue, he immediately put it through and smilingly said, "Hello, Xiaoxue. Is there something? Did I disturb you, Grand Master?" asked Gu Xiaoxue. "Nope. It's all right." Tang Xiu smiled. "Actually, there are 3 issues why I'm calling you," said Gu Xiaoxue. "The first is that Master asked me to ask you when will you have time to visit Jingmen Island. She said, she misses you." Tang Xiu thought for a moment and replied, "The magnificent Tang Corporation will hold a construction project tender bidding in Shanghai soon, so I can't leave for the time being. Convey my message to Yan to wait for several days. I should be able to go to Jingmen Island in about a week." After complying, Gu Xiaoxue spoke again. "The second issue is about those adopted children you've received, Grand Master. Banzhou and his team have picked up a lot of street children from all over the country, many of whom have good aptitudes. After a short training and screening, the number of those who have passed the training is 800 people in total. Also, we can't accommodate more children in Jingmen Island. Do you want to choose another place to resettle them?" Tang Xiu was slightly surprised since he did not expect that Banzhou and Dingzi would be this diligent and hardworking. It took only 6 months for them to find these many street children. After pondering for a while, he then replied, "I'll deal with this issue after I come to Jingmen Island." "Tell me the third reason." "The Everlasting Feast Hall here has run out of funds, Grand Master," said Gu Xiaoxue. "Our people have been purchasing a colossal number of precious herbs from abroad, along with a huge number of precious ores, jades, etc. Also, we have withdrawn all the funds held by our branches and stores at present. Furthermore, the consumption of more than 3,000 children, the salary, welfare, and benefits of the Everlasting Feast Hall's employees are." Tang Xiu rubbed his temple and interrupted her, "You don't have to report those small issues in detail. Just tell me how much funding you need. The financial department has calculated that we need at least 8 to 10 billion. In order to alleviate our current financial situation for the time being." "Of course, it would be better if you can provide more," answered Gu Xiaoxue. Tang Xiu's mouth twitched. He still had some money, but he was shocked by the number Gu Xiaoxue reported. He still had some money in his account, but he did not know its specific amount, though it should be still around 10 billion yuan. He was worrying exactly about the amount of money he had as of recently and did not expect that the call from Gu Xiaoxue would also be related to this issue, making him feel that he was really short on money. Tang Xiu lit up a cigarette, took a few deep puffs, and then said, "I don't have that much money for the time being. I will check it out first, and then give you all the money I can use. If it's not enough, call me again. I'll find a way." "Understood." After hanging up, Tang Xiu smoked his cigarette and checked the amount he had in his account through mobile banking. He was a bit dumbfounded when he saw the balance, 9.812 billion. Finished smoking, Tang Xiu clenched his teeth and directly transferred 9 billion yuan to Gu Xiaoxue, and then transferred 800 million to Kong Xia for use in the project in Shanghai after it started. Done with the transfer, he looked at the remaining 12 million in his account and could not help but groan. Money, money, money. He needed money now, desperately. Even if he had no need of it shortly, but once the construction project in Shanghai started, the follow-up was practically a money-burning process. In addition, the development and transformation of Clam Island and Resting Cemetery Island in the South China Sea would also require a colossal amount of funds. If the project in Nine Dragons Island was finished in June, there were still a lot of things he would need by that time. At least, it was a must to purchase a lot of jades. The magnificent Tang Corporation still had some money, but in a few months later the new city project in Star City would progress greatly and the internal purchase of its real estate, would definitely require a lot of funds. He must wait until the opening quotation of the real estate market if he wanted to withdraw the funds from circulation. How can I make a lot of money in the fastest and shortest time possible? Gambling crossed Tang Xiu's mind, but he directly cast the idea away. Money was not something that just fell from the sky, and casinos actually had some risk controls. It was fine if he only made a small amount of money, but he would probably offend a lot of people once he won too much. What about buying lottery tickets? As Tang Xiu thought about it, he could not help but force a wry smile. The amount of money in the prize pool of the major lottery institutions was just a drop in the bucket. It would be far from enough. Not to mention that it would garner attention from others if he did it excessively. Should I intentionally find faults and blackmail some rich families? The idea made Tang Xiu hollowly laugh twice and throw this thought away as well. He did not want to resort to this cheap, tasteless business. Unless those people offended him, he would not be cheeky to rob them. That's right. The immortal trove. Tang Xiu's eyes lit up. But the light only lasted for a few seconds before fading away. Firstly, let alone knowing that the immortal trove truly had some valuable things, just that 6 starlight array itself was the thing he had yet to completely figure out. Some of the mysteries contained within were still somewhat tricky to crack despite his deep attainments arrays. How about asking for support from the Tang family? The idea made Tang Xiu a bit depressed. The Tang family indeed should still have a lot of funds as of now, but his grandfather just gave him 50 billion yuan a few months ago, and the money was the savings they had been secretly stowed for many years, an amount that would not affect the Tang family at all. 2 hours later. When Ouyang Lulu returned to her residence and opened her bedroom's door, she was immediately choked by the thick smoke inside. The smoke lingered in the heated room, making her cover her nose as she entered the room and quickly opened the windows. She then snappily glared at Tang Xiu, who was lost in thought and nested himself in the sofa, and then angrily said in a charming manner, "Why are you smoking so much? The smell is so bad." Tang Xiu snapped back to reality, and only then did he realize that the room was full of smoke. He immediately shook his head and smilingly said, "I smoke a lot without realizing it when I'm lost in thought and pondering about things." Ouyang Lulu's expression moved and asked with a concerned expression, "What are you thinking about? Is it very troublesome?" Tang Xiu replied with a helpless expression, "I'm very short on money. I was just a nouveau rich with nearly 10 billion yuan in my account, but it only took seconds before I became broke." "Where did the money go?" asked Ouyang Lulu, astounded. "Xiao Xue called me. She told me that the Everlasting Feast Hall is short on money, hence I directly transferred 9 billion to her," said Tang Xiu. On the other hand, the magnificent Tang Corporation is preparing to construct its HQ and industrial park in Shanghai, so I transferred the remaining 800 million to Kong Xia. Added with the sum of funds I gave her previously, it should be enough to carry out the initial stage of the project. But then again, I have no money left now. Ouyang Lulu took her wallet and took out a bank card from the inside, and then smilingly said, "I can't be compared to you or those rich rednecks with billions in their bank accounts, but I still have the income from my own private property on Jingmen Island and this Paradise Manor. All the money is in this bank card equal to nearly 80 million yuan. Just take it as pocket money first, and then call me again if you require more." "Hey." Tang Xiu sighed twice and pushed her hand back. He just felt upset and complained to himself, but he did not want to take money from Lulu. Seeing her expression, Tang Xiu directly pulled her to his lap and said with a smile, "I'm not short on pocket money, and I can still get 18 million yuan by myself. I'm just thinking about how to make more money in a short period of time. Just hold the money in this card. You don't have to give it to me, I will take the initiative to ask you when I really need it." Ouyang Lulu looked satisfied and nodded. After taking back the card, she said, "In any case, I have determined to be with you. Everything I have, thus all of my money and all of my assets are also yours. If worse comes to worst, you can also sell this Paradise Manor. Shortly put, you just need to tell me.